Welcome. Thank you everyone for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can begin the show. Okay. Welcome. Happy New Year. It's January 9th, 2024, and you are at the Reservoir Hill Association General Membership Meeting for January. Welcome, neighbors. Today, we're going to continue in our usual structure. We're going to begin with board reporting. But because December is heavily filled with lots of holidays, thought it'd be good in January to go over last year's goals for each position, and then give everyone the opportunity to talk a little bit about their 2024 goals. However, if anyone on the board has a particular item they want to share that's time sensitive, you can also do that, but that's kind of what we're going to be doing during our reporting moment. And then we're going to move on to discuss the upcoming January 11th meeting with Amtrak that's going to be happening at Bethel Synagogue. Just holding some time to process what that meeting is really about, what our goals as an organization are for that meeting, and how you can contribute to those goals. And then if anyone towards the end has any announcements that they want to share with the community, that's your time. So without further ado, I will continue with the agenda. So just to review, I had about 4 goals that were specific to me. And one of them was to use our general membership meeting time to share and learn leadership skills. I don't think that I quite accomplished that goal. I think that there were a few organizations that we wanted to invite to kind of share a little bit more about how they develop strength in their communities and share those skills. We did a little bit of it, I think, at the membership meeting, but I definitely would like to see more of it in the upcoming year and maybe be a little bit more specific about what types of organizations or what kind of skills we want to build in the organizations. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about. We had a huge goal of increasing the cohesiveness and planning and development in the community, and that's definitely a goal that I feel like I shared with Arlen. And I do think we made a lot of headway on that goal with Arlen's leadership. He was able to schedule a really big meeting with the Department of Transportation towards, I think that was in August or September. And I think there's a lot of to-dos coming out of those meetings. And we were also able to do a walkthrough with Councilman Torrance to kind of show with other agencies our concerns about development issues within the neighborhood, whether it be, at-risk buildings, future thinking about street planning, and just giving them a better understanding of the goals for the neighborhood. And I'm certainly hoping to continue that work in working with the Neighborhood Design Center and creating a neighborhood vision plan, which hopefully you'll be hearing a lot more about in the coming month or two. And then I think increasing political knowledge on how to advocate for change. I think we've made a lot of headway there, even though it's a process for sure. I think I have personally learned a lot in organizing around the tunnel issues, and there's much more to learn, but I have seen a lot of more people step up to the plate and give their time towards organizing around that issue. And I hope it just increases as we go along. And obviously that's work that we've done in collaboration as a board and as a community. And finally, it's a goal that we haven't quite completed. We have created our collaboration guidelines. So basically really clearly articulating what we thought a partnership meant and what collaboration meant with partner organizations. We wrote it out. However, I don't think it went through final approval. So that's kind of where we're hitting a little barrier, but the idea, the concept has been created. There's language around it, and now it's just really about getting approval from our membership, which is you. So I think I touched on all my 2024 goals, but as we continue to work on as a board, we'll continue to flesh those out. So I'm gonna pass it on to Drika.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My 23 and 24 goals are a continuation, building relationships amongst the different organizations and communities that surround Reservoir Hill. I do, on occasion, when I get the memos, to attend the West North Avenue project. I know they had a huge meeting down on Utah Place and in December. And again, showing they were displaying the different projects they're doing and the plans that has been that's being supposedly being coordinated to be used for that whole corridor. I also attend several monthly meetings for the Upton community as well, because even though that's somewhat south, there's a lot of development going on in that neighborhood, to include new housing that's being erected in I think it's the 900 block of Emerson Avenue. They're doing the Juanita Parent Mitchell house off of North Carrollton. They've also doing the Afro old building down off of Landville. They're doing a lot of renovation to the Lexington, not Lexington Market, the market across street, the market on Lafayette, and a lot of building along the corridor of Pennsylvania Avenue. So with that, it's a lot of to include our own construction on Madison Avenue. So it's a lot that's being developed in our community, and I'm just trying to stay on top of it because it is so much that has gotten to be a little bit almost overwhelming trying to keep up with all of it. So attending these meetings, just trying to stay above all of that. I know there's also, everyone knows there's a candidate forum that's going to be Martin Luther King at the Friendship Baptist Church on the 6000 Lock Raven Boulevard. If nobody did not get that memo, so you might want to attend that at 6 o'clock. And my goals for 2024, it's the same, just can try to build those relationships, as well as trying to find someone who would like to step in and take the role of vice president for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarika. So this next one is a little unfair because these goals were set before Lisa had joined the board, but it's helpful, I think, to review them nonetheless. And then Lisa, if you have any insights, you can share them if you want. But basically, those goals were about record keeping. We have gotten a lot of different pieces of inventory, from our tablecloths to, I don't know, coffee makers and things like that, and popcorn machines throughout the last couple of years. And so we are all kind of storage because we don't have an office space. So we all kind of store things at our homes. And so we were hoping to have a very centralized, digitized location where everyone could clearly see what are the things that we've bought, where are they located, just so that we can, I think the idea was, as we transition out of our positions and new people take over, that it's very clear, like, what is RHA property versus personal property. And so that also the community, if you had an event that you were planning, that you could know, oh, what are the resources that my community organization has that I can borrow? So that was kind of a goal, Lisa. Another goal that was kind of built around the role of the secretary was just simplifying and centralizing all the files on the Google Drive. Obviously, we didn't have a secretary for about a year, so that didn't quite happen. And so our filing system, while not terrible, is a little disorganized. Like it's clearly something that we've all done independently as members of the board. And so we just wanted a way that, I guess, in an ideal world, that anyone could look at our files and clearly see what's going on there and could navigate it. And we're not quite there yet. So those are the two goals that I found in our last planning that pertain to you, Lisa, but certainly you can share very different ideas if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I guess one of the central functions that I might have is just sort of like organizing, like you said, the resources that we have. So maybe reaching out to everyone, just with a simple letter, just trying to find out what everybody has. If that hasn't already been done, that might be a way for me to figure out where the resources are, and and then start that sort of inventory. And I guess, like you said, centralizing the Google Drive files so that they're easily going forward. We want a situation where anybody could take over and would know where to go. So I'm going to kind of like try to organize around that goal, like that anybody would be able to just pick up and take over the job and know where everything is at. So definitely willing to put forth the effort for that. So
Thank you, Lisa. And, another thing that I didn't put here because it wasn't in the original goals, but has been said is that we also want to be a little bit better about how individuals can tell if they're in good standing or not.
okay.
So, right now, to be in good standing, you should have attended, I think, half of the previous year's meeting. So if it's, I guess January is easy. So from June to now, from January to January, if you have attended every other meeting or at least every other meeting, or just half of the meetings, you should be eligible to be in good standing. And then if you pay your dues, you are a member in good standing and are able to vote. And we've had a lot of hiccups with voting, mainly because we haven't had a secretary to kind of track people's attendance very well. Like we've been doing it, but very ad hoc, and everyone's been, Chet's done it sometimes, and I've done it sometimes, and Melda's done it sometimes, but we want it to be, as RHA, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So in an ideal world, one could just know, like we would be tracking it in a way where, Brandy, that's easy. Darnell could easily know immediately whether he's in good standing or, how many more meetings he would have to attend to the year to become in good standing, whether or not his dues have been recorded, and we just haven't gotten to that place yet. So I think that's another thing we've kind of articulated as wanting to accomplish.
Okay.
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 All right. And I'll continue going, not to keep adding things. Okay. Chet.
Hello, everyone. Our goals last year were to ensure we have 3 times our operating costs in our bank account by the end of the year, and I think we have achieved that. I believe we did apply for 3 grants, but I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head. Approximately that many. But the goals for 2024 are to strengthen our bookkeeping with a new Quicken account, so we can categorize our income and spending by category. I've already started that process. We have a new Quicken account. It's a bit of a learning curve for me because I haven't used it before. I'm trying to figure out how to streamline those categorizations. Is going to take a little bit, but I'm hopeful that I should have a full report for last year soon. And my other goal for this year is to streamline our reimbursement procedures and move more towards direct purchases as much as possible. We have done that for our tech expenses, like for the MailChimp subscription, our post office box, the web services and things like that. So we've moved towards that, and we've set up that also for the events committees, or for any events for any of the committees. We've set up some business accounts through Amazon for purchases and things. So hopefully we'll have better access to reports for those types of things and better approvals so they can be directly purchased by the organization instead of reimbursing people, in a nutshell. So I'm open to any questions anybody might have. But and also just to say we have approximately $12,000, $12,500 in the account right now. And we have about $3,500 in reimbursements still for the garden and home tour, which I'm close to completing, but I have 2 items I need to get with the events chair to reconcile and then get those reimbursements out. That's
Thank
about
you
it.
so much, Chet. And like, it's hard to honestly think back to the year before, but we've come a long way financially as an organization. And I'm just really proud of us and our membership and everyone who's contributed to making that possible, because we're a much stronger organization financially. I'm really happy that we've met our goals there. So thanks. Brandy.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're mostly trying to stay dry or mostly staying dry. I started as the Architecture and Historic Preservation Committee Chair in the spring, and we got off to a little bit of a slow start. Honestly, last year was a little bit slow for the AHPC, but 2023 goals were kind of community building, let people know that we're out here, start conversations, engage residents and neighbors around historic preservation issues in the neighborhood. And I think in the few, in the meetings where we had good attendance, I think we had really great conversations and definitely started that community building. There's a lot of room for growth in 2024. At the last Architecture and Historic Preservation Committee meeting, I began to do some brainstorming exercises about formalizing a mission statement for the committee. And so I hope to further articulate that and codify it in 2024. A goal that was on my list for 2023 that I've moved to 2024 is to develop block captains initiative and try to recruit block captains across the neighborhood. Another initiative that I'm really excited about for 2024 is to streamline the architecture review committee process across Upper Utah, Madison, and hopefully Historic Mount Royal Terrace Association. I think that could be really beneficial to our neighborhood cohesion and preservation. And then also develop a plan to formally welcome new homeowners to Reservoir Hill and to the glories of owning a historic home. And finally, one thing that's on our radar is Baltimore City's new initiative for conservation districts, which is an alternative to CHAP districts or formal historic districts. And that could be something that's an interesting pursuit for Reservoir Hill as a whole. So doing some more information gathering and information sharing around what it means to be a conservation district and what are the benefits and potential negatives and, you know, all of the details, and sharing that information with you guys. So that's my update.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, I'll keep it moving. Janae.
Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. It is definitely a camera off sort of day, but thank you so much for all that we achieved in 2023. So for our goals for last year, we had quite a few, including form some subcommittees, which didn't quite solidify. But we did have people working on various aspects of what is listed on the slide. We also did plan and execute the in-person garden and home tour. And we had quite a few homes that were identified to be on the tour. And We had a few homes that popped up on the tour just in an ad hoc fashion. So it was really a great opportunity to bring the community together. I'm still excited about what I learned, who I met, and the possibility of bringing it forward in 2024. I need to shout out all of the board members for all of their contributions around that to help me execute around that. We also last year were thinking about doing 2 Reservoir Hill movie night events between July and September. Unfortunately, that did not happen. We also had a goal of collaborating with local school points of contact to participate in back to school events in August and September. We did get a chance to do a portion of that. And then we did work with the president to plan and execute an in-person annual meet and greet. And apparently my slides did not update, but no worries. For 2024, our goals are going to look very similar. So we're going to pull through on what we did and didn't do for 2024. And instead of, being specific about planning and executing a movie night, we just want to plan and execute at least 2 Reservoir Hill community events between July and September. So last year we did do that in somewhat, in that we spent quite a bit of time collaborating with some of our other our chair members, and supporting the different community cleanups and the different initiatives around the BMP tunnel, as well as things that were happening with the bike lane. So it was quite an active year. It didn't necessarily formalize into, the community events that we've done in the past, but we still had a sense of community with coming together and doing some of the things that we engaged in last year. So we also started building out a community events calendar. So we're going to pull through for 2024 and continue to do that. And that will probably be our subcommittee that we form to, make sure that we have people dedicated to making sure that the events that are happening in Reservoir Hill, as well as some of them around the cities that, people are aware of for planning purposes, as well as engaging and taking advantage of the different opportunities to meet neighbors within Baltimore, as well as Reservoir Hill. So for 2024 upcoming, we're actually starting our activities around planning the garden and home tour. So just a quick plug, if you're interested, if you had a great time last year, please feel free to reach out. We have our meetings on the 4th Thursday of the month. I'm very excited about 2024. We got a lot of work to do, but, I think that we have been doing a lot of planning and putting some things together. So it's time to initiate and move everything forward. So thank you for the opportunity to review what we plan to do, as well as what we have done. And I'll turn it back over to you, Madam President.
Sorry, my daughter really is into this meeting today. I don't know what's going on. So thank you, Janae. And I just want to shout out that, even though you're right, we didn't do the 2 movie nights, we did do the Halloween event this year that I think went really well. And I really enjoyed the garden home tour, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. Are we saving the date for the first week of June for that? Is it official?
Yes, it is official. It is going to be June 1 and 2. And it is, I believe it's on our community calendar.
I think so.
If it's not, it will be, so that, people can mark their calendars. And again, come out to the events meeting so we can plan it and make it even bigger, better, faster, stronger than last year.
Okay. So thank you, Janae. I'll keep it moving. to Lauren. Is Lauren on the call? I don't see her. So I'm going to keep, I'll read out some of her goals. One was to strategize and cultivate neighborhood leaders in planning the cleanups and greenups. I think that we had 4 really successful cleanups last year that targeted 4 different parts of the neighborhood, which I think was a major goal. And we specifically wanted to make sure that we held dumpsters next to closer to the high-rise apartment buildings along Druid Park Lake Drive, because we heard that a lot of folks didn't have easy access to the dumpster. So we wanted to make sure that that was addressed. And I feel confident that we have done that. And then I think the third one, we learned a lot about Ducotel Park last year. One, that we cannot actually have a friends group there because it is owned by city schools. And so when city schools owns a park, they can't create a friends group for it. So although that was a goal, we met with the principal, and the principal's super supportive of any work that we want to do there, including upgrading the playground equipment or planting or gardening. He's very open-minded to a lot of that work, but we learned that it has to go through Baltimore City Schools in order to do, and through a different process than a normal city park would have to go through. So that was a learning process. And I know that Lauren has the goal of continuing her work with the green up cleanups, continuing to do that work across the neighborhood. And I think from what I've heard about her plans, certainly working on, oh, I see Lauren coming. Janae?
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Hi, Lauren, you came right on time. We were just talking about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was just talking about the 2023 goals for the Green Committee for you. And then if we were just at the point of talking about what your goals for 2024 would look like.
Okay, so 2024 is a big year. Hopefully, we can really get a hold of. I was out in this weather actually, and there's so much flooding, and I was really really disheartened to see how clogged our sewer drains really are. A lot of the flooding is strictly due to neglect. Has nothing to do with our system not working. It's neglect. And when I see things like that, it really, drives me to get more people involved in being more eco-friendly. Today is a clear example of what it looks like with climate change. We're having more rain than anything and snow on the West Coast. What's wrong with that picture? This in real time should be snow if we're going to have any weather this time of year. So my goal is to really educate more people on sustainable practices for our future as it relates to food, as it relates to our environment, air, water, land, everything in between. We're in a global crisis as far as politics are concerned. The East against the West, the brown against the white, the Muslims against the Jews, it's all leading to a time where we're all going to need to understand how to take care of ourselves. For 2024, I just want to spend a lot of time educating people on all levels of sustainability. Immediately in our community, we still have 12 yards of mulch sitting on the triangle waiting for us, but that's a good thing because we have it. And as soon as the weather breaks, we'll be able to distribute it. I did observe some of the tree wells along Utah, and the restoration that it would take to amend those particular tree wells is kind of like out of our wheelhouse in terms of some of the soil needs to be loosened, reapplied, nitrogen added, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a little extensive. So cleaning our sewers, amending the tree wells in a way that we can plant add more soil and plant. If we get more plants, it will prevent erosion. It will allow those tree wells to mend themselves. Erosion is a problem because there's nothing growing there. Rain like this just takes the soil right away. So that's on the environmental part. As for some of the other, I'd like to, with the help of the group here, RHA, to identify some of the things that our community would be interested in seeing by way of greening, whether it's coming together more outside, whether it's knowing how to just knowing the difference between what plants that are useful and what plants aren't useful, education. I'm really strong on education, and I can't give people what they want if I don't know what that is. So I would like to create some type of document that we can send out and find out what the community at large would like to have, what is useful. Some people want composters. Some people honestly believe that they attract rats. Some people are more into a hydroponic food system. Some people need to understand the science of soil and how it keeps us alive. Just education, how to preserve your foods, when to harvest, how to harvest. Even if you don't grow your own food, if you invest in what they call ugly food, ugly fruits. So there's produce that is damaged in local farms and they sell it. Well, even that, you can can it, jar it, pickle it, preserve it. So you can in turn buy in bulk. I'm concerned about the amount of food that's being wasted in our communities with so many people being hungry. 2024 is endless for me. I could go on and on for hours of what I'd like to see, but what's more important is what the community would like to see. And while you have me, Kendra, I did speak with Alan again. Janae, thank you, Janae, did make a good handoff for transitioning me into, the scheduling of, community dumpsters. I have to call him back. We have a new date for June 8th. He wanted he wanted more locations. And I didn't want to just at random. I said for the next one to be exactly where it was last weekend, because that event never happened. So I was able to give him that location. I think I gave him the wrong streets though, because we were calling that street Hunter Lane. That is part of Brookfield or Brooks Lane. Well, anyway, that's the location. I said I'd like to keep the same location. So I got to give him 2 more locations. One in September. One in August, and then one in around September, October. So unless you have any questions for me, that concludes my spiel.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And what we can do, we could talk offline about the dumpsters, locations and dates. But what you can do is just have them all at the same location and then switch them closer to the date, switch the location.
Okay.
But Janae is actually has more expertise on
She
how
has been very, 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 very helpful.
So we could talk offline about how exactly to make that happen.
Can I say hi to Arlen? I don't see his face much. Hi, Arlen.
Hey, can I just add one additional piece? And thank you so much, Lauren, for making the transition for that portion of the green up cleanup smooth. I just want to say that one of the things that we've done in the past is reach out to the membership to see where they want the dumpster. So what we're talking about now, Lauren, is just putting in a placeholder location. But we want to make sure that wherever we have it, that, you know, the community puts their input in around where they would like to see the dumpster being placed. So we can talk more about how we did that, but I just wanted to mention it here while we're in our general membership meeting to let people know that we want to hear from them to make sure that, you know, we are acting on behalf of, you know, the community, for, you know, where they would like to see the dumpster placed in coordination with activities that we may be undertaking in conjunction with the green up cleanups.
I agree, and I appreciate that. That's what I said. I want 2024 to look more like what the community wants, not like what Lauren wants, because I can get stuck on a trend, you know, and there's so much more, you know, available. So other people's ideas, other people's inputs help keep me well-rounded as well.
Thank you both. And I will keep it moving. And I want to say we were out this weekend for the green up, but as you know, the weather turned sour quicker than it was projected. It was supposed to start the icy rain at noon, and it started more like at 9, 10 a.m. So we didn't last long, but we were out there. So we'll find another time to continue the Triangle Project where we're not risking our health to do so. Yeah. But shout out to everyone who did show up, because quite a bit of people did turn out, even though the weather was really funky. So thank you all for that. And we also had a neighbor share some really delicious donuts and treats. So thank you to everyone that did participate. And sorry it rained out, but I know that Lauren will be reaching out soon with an update on the new dates.
Yeah, and we did have before and after pictures too for some of the cleanup that happened right there on the upper side of upper Utah. So it wasn't all bad.
People that were stronger than me, like Mr. Orlando Maxwell, did stick it out and did clean out some tree beds. I have been fighting something for a couple of weeks. So I was like, I'm not trying myself. I am leaving. But I look forward to seeing those before and afters of the people that did, you know, they did stick it out, and, you know, we're like the USPS, despite sleet, snow, or rain, they were still out there. I did not meet that mark, but some folks did. Daryl, you're up. You're still muted. I don't know if you're talking to the group.
Happy New Year. 2023 goals. We did not get to the plan and execute the bi-monthly lobby and the lobby events because other things occurred, so we had to table that. And we are interested in picking that back up, or actually executing that this year. So we are going to do that because it really will dovetail into getting all of the information out that Lauren wants to provide to the community for increased individuals participation in events, and to you know, increase our membership by, you know, letting people know who we are and what we're doing, as well as you know, as well as getting their participation, their, you know, polling them and finding out you know, what it is that they need you know, in those in the high rises. So we are definitely going to in the spring reapproach lobby in the lobby, because we also want to, as a part of 2024 goals, is to increase flyering, and we might also look into SMS text messaging. We you know, marketing has to find how we can, reach the maximum audience. We didn't do that this year. And so, we're going to do that in our 2024. Our first goal for 2024 is to have 12 meetings, because I can't constitute a committee if I'm not having the meetings. And so when the garden and home tour had an increase in necessary work, that for me was I had to give in some area, and so the marketing as a committee that met regularly suffered as a result of that. We're going to correct that this year. Increased social media engagement, we definitely did that, but we're going to blow that out of the water from last year. And we did a lot of things last year to be proud of. The Black History Month messaging was pretty good. The Women's History Month messaging was good. And other ways of celebrating or commemorating other events throughout the year, through the messaging from the organization. We did a very good job of supporting other organizational messaging, both in our meetings, in marketing, going to other organizations and giving messaging there for upcoming events. But one of the things that we did this year was, we applied efforts towards messaging in some platforms that is just not paying out for us. So it's like you've got to decrease, Twitter or X or whatever it is, because ain't nobody on it no more, Daryl, and marketing and start putting out the success stories of our cleanups and everything, on Instagram, taking advantage of the platform, the number of people that we have on it, and it's being designed geared towards photographs, which we take a lot of, but we need to marketing need to distribute that in our messaging. The newsletter was an excellent endeavor over this past year, but then after our break, the newsletter didn't get started back. So in 2024, goal number 2 is 12 newsletters, 12 meetings, 12 newsletters. We, as a group, with Madam President in the lead, we did execute the redesign of the website. So we do have that. We can look into the plugins that are available and see what we can use to further distribute messaging. They may have some triggers where you can, if you post to X, then it'll in turn, or if you email X, it will in turn post to platform Y and Z. So we will look into that. Also for this year, we're going to submit a budget. These are the things we need money for. So, this is the budget. We need money for increased flyering. We are going to need, a message distribution platform. And, they've been pricey, and I've been, doing that, like my father dance as far as money is concerned, but marketing needs to get the message out. So whatever's necessary in order to get the message out, we're going to get the message out. We're also looking into a public information Facebook page for increase in messaging. So we're going to discuss that and bring it to the board as to whether we could have another way of doubling up on the Facebook platform and having a public face on it. And I think that's all that I have. We want to email committee chairs and get the agenda, because sometimes the messaging is plain. And so, if the public knows what Arlen wants to cover, then then that might draw 3, 4, 5 more people to his committee meeting, as opposed to the kind of the generic one the placeholders that even though we do the best we can with the placeholders, but I'm positive that getting the words directly from Brandy will increase membership in her committee. So we're going to have a set automated email to you to ask you for your agenda, so that it is a part of the messaging. Share our success stories and start the the garden home tour from the beginning. The first flyer is completed. So it can go, the save the date is done. It can go both on the website and the and it will be in messaging tomorrow. I think that is it. There are some things that weren't put on here, but we were able to do, such as get the QR codes and the shortened links for all of the meetings. So that is there. Monitoring Zoom and getting the videos off, so that we stay under, so that we can continue to record. Then I'm re-encoding them to shrink the size, and then we're storing them in 2 places for redundancy. And I think that is it. Yes, that's it.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you. Those are really wonderful and robust set of goals for 2024. And I hope that we can all support you in getting our reminders and messaging out earlier, so people have more notice for our events and things like that. But that's going to be definitely a group effort in getting you copy on time and getting agendas out on time. And I'm including myself in needing to be much better about that. So thank you for that reminder. Arlen.
Happy New Year, everyone. Let's see, 2023. It's been a whirlwind for myself and my family. But as far as the things that we were trying to accomplish in 2023, we had the bike lanes that were coming in. We had several properties that were at issue, and some of those properties are still pending. Zoning issues, Winata, the projects along Druid Hill Park, BMZA hearings, things of that nature. Most of those things are going to be continued on to the goals for 2024. The tunnel issues, and I want to thank Keandra and Brandy and Barbara and everyone else. The wards have stepped up and really taken that on, and that's been a huge haul. I know it's been a drain of your time and resources majorly. And then that goes back to the political influence that we need to have in this community. I guess my goal for 2024, and I'm trying to continue with that, is that political influence, because a lot of times we find ourselves putting a lot of effort into things, and we look at it towards the end, and it's either a checklist for some developer, or it gets thrown to the wayside because we can't come to a consensus, such as with the bike path issue. So my main focus and I'm continuing on that as far as the zoning issues, is that the zoning enforcements, I think the word is out that, you know, if you come into this neighborhood and you try to do work outside of that zoning effort, our neighbors will report it, and that our representatives will support us in making sure that you comply with necessary regulations. To kind of assuage the issue of reporting, I'm still trying to work with James Torrance to make sure that it is a requirement that any zone variations be posted, and any work that's going forth in any of these properties, instead of it being recommended by the board to post the pending work, that it is a requirement. Now that's going to be a citywide effort. So that's going to be a major part of 2024, trying to get that being a requirement, that if there's work going on, you have to post that notice. Also, another zoning issue is with the trash. I would love to have it. I'm working with James as well to try to get it to where the trash is not based upon the address. As I've said in the past, if you have a property that's been single family and now it's zoned for 5 units, it still has the trash requirements as if it's a single family. So we need to get that changed over to where it's based upon units per property rather than per property address. BMZA, still to deal with the hybrid issues. The liquor board has hybrid meetings, but the BMZA does not want to have hybrid meetings. And I think that has a lot to do with the developers and them trying to, I won't say hide, but the less input from the neighborhood for a lot of the developers, the better it is. And we need to just kind of tear down that wall. So I'm still working with our representatives in regards to that. We've had the city council president. We have, as of for the upcoming election, we'll have 2 neighbors in the community who are actually running for city council president. And we also have one just across the Great Divide that's running for city council president. So we should be able to pull them in, the 3 that are running, to make sure that they will focus on things that will actually benefit the neighborhood and the city as a whole. Going back to what Lauren was saying, as far as the drainage is concerned, a lot of the trash that blocks the drainage is because the overflow of trash from these multiple units. My neighbor, my alley in particular, I've been having an issue with this Johns Hopkins developer or owner of a property. The CEO is actually part of the business school of Johns Hopkins, and they're absolutely trashed the way they run their properties. And they're still getting tickets. Every 10 days, I go out. If there's trash out there, I take a picture, I send it, and submit it. And I encourage everyone to do that. If you have that kind of issue, I know it's a pain, but if you don't hurt them in the pocketbook, even if it is a minimal, then it is money that's coming out of their accounts. A lot of these entities will just write it off on tax purposes. But if we show the pathway and we show that we are being proactive as a neighborhood, then it shows that what they're doing is an issue. It's not something that's just coming up randomly or just a rare occurrence. Also with Winata, well, let me step back. Another project, the 2001 Park Avenue project, Reservoir Square, the daycare center, which is privately owned. All these things pertain to issues that are beyond the scope of just a neighborhood issue and more in line with a problem with the city representing the actual homeowners and the actual residents rather than just developers. So I'm still trying to focus in on that. Back to Winata, I meet at Art Social Club. And so I walk our neighborhood down to Pennsylvania Avenue, and I noticed walking down North Avenue, as you cross Pennsylvania Avenue on the north side, and you want to cross over to the library, I always wondered, why is it that people always cross in the middle of the street? It's because that whole intersection is just totally screwed up. It makes no sense at all where the bus stations are and where people catch the bus there. And I put out to Wanada as far as maybe enhancing that whole section, maybe a circle in that area, because it doesn't make any sense. And I understand if I transfer that area on a daily basis, I wouldn't cross at the intersections because it doesn't make any sense. And so those are the things that are going on. I ask that you bear with me here. I'm trying to do the best I can as far as trying to keep things organized with the organization that with my committee. And let's see, one other issue. The owner of Tune Up City, that's another project. I have spoken with that person, and he's had some events at his place, and he's willing to, he actually wants the community input, and he's reaching out to the neighbors. He's done a good job of reaching out to the neighbors. So all those things will come together eventually, hopefully in a positive manner, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much, Arlen. That was massive, but that just goes to show you all the things you've been working on, and the committee and the neighborhood has been working on for the last year. It's truly all the, I know that sounded like a lot, but truly it's, I can't express how different developers and the city has been interfacing with us under Arlen's leadership. And I really appreciate all the work that you've done. So although you feel like you're extremely disorganized, I think we all feel that we all feel that way, because we're just trying to make it work while, you know, living life and our work and our jobs and our families. It's actually incredibly helpful for me to remember all the things that have happened over this last year. And yes, it's quite a lot, and there's more to do, but we've been making headway, and we can tell that because we've gone through a phase where we had BMZA hearings every month. We had to be present for a BMZA hearing. And now it's like, we got to pay attention because it comes up like maybe once every 6 months. And that's only because we're no longer the neighborhood to buy and flip. We used to be that neighborhood where you buy a massive house, you flip it into as many units as possible, substandard work, and then you leave. And I think, like Arlen has said, the word is out that's not what to do. So now, you know, we're thinking more long-term with how do we move from saying no to what do we want to say yes to, and kind of visioning for the future. And obviously Arlen will be working deeply on the neighborhood vision plan work as well. And as we think about our partners in that work with the Neighborhood Design Center. So I didn't want to leave that off as also being PDC connected. Okay, and last but not least, Rolando.
Good evening. 2023. Basically, some of my work is mostly unseen. But in 2023, we had 2 major drug location that was basically closed down, or at Woodbrook, which was that the city tear down the buildings, and the open market that they had behind these buildings suddenly did have hidden locations. So they had moved the activities onto our neighborhood. It started open at Madison, and then it moved into German Park. But at that time, we was working with Central District. So we was able to contact Officer Gillespie and give him all the necessary information. And we was able to let them know that this was not the area to do your activities, even though there was constantly changing location. But once a neighbor noticed it, we got together, contacted BPW, and they came out. And also we had the closing of the laundromat, and that was another activities that used to go on down there, a lot of drug activities. So they moved it up onto German Park. It was brought to Officer Gillespie, who got some recording, and he was able to know who was the individual. And they did their best to patrol the area and assist the new owner of Linden Avenue Market in helping move these guys them out of the neighborhood. They still come in every so often, but it's not as open as they used to be. So that's been basically what happened in 2023. Now in 2024, we know part of the Western District. So now my goal will be trying to have that same relationship that we had with the Central, that we are able to contact someone and they're able to dispatch the necessary officers around. I will say that the Western District, when they first started, we had an officer named Shoemaker. I can't remember his partner name right now, but they used to, was one of the regulars. No, I don't see them around anymore, but they used to come in the neighborhood, get out of the car, and they will have their lunch right in front of the grocery store, which was very helpful in keeping the drug activities that they will try to do in the vicinity of this store. So that would be my goal, to have a better relationship with the Western District, and get them to come to our meeting. And that's it.
Thank you, Rolando. Okay, so any questions? I know that was a lot of information, but does anyone have any questions about what was just shared? Concerns?
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, for some reason, I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. From, I don't know if you want to rename yourself. It just says resident. But what is being done about 2340 Utah? Has anyone been notified about that property and the drug dealing directly from the property? Actually, 2340. I'm trying to think, is that on the, I'm not aware of that activity going on. And I would be happy if you don't want to talk about it online, because I know this is recorded and maybe you don't want to be online discussing this with your identity revealed. But if you want to reach out offline, I'm happy to talk to you about strategies we've used. And obviously you can reach out to Rolando to talk about strategies that he's used to navigate situations like that. But there has been a really, previously with the previous district, like Rolando was saying, we had a really strong relationship with them and was able to report things like that off the record, so that there could be some focus on any problem property where we had concerns about things of that nature. So if you want to speak directly to Rolando, I think that would probably be the best way to handle it. And yeah, so Rolando can be reached at safety@reservoirhillassociation.org. Or I'm sure he's happy to connect with you over a phone call or something like that, if that's more appropriate. But I live not too far away from there, and I just wasn't aware of it. So we'd obviously want to be really careful and be sure we're thinking of the same location. A question is, have you called 911 about the issue? Okay, so it doesn't seem like you want to really talk online, which is totally fine. I get it, because these conversations are being recorded. So if you just want to reach out, okay, you visited the police department. Okay, so certainly you should definitely connect with Rolando offline, and you guys can follow up from there for sure. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll keep it going. So I kind of wanted to end the meeting. We're at 8:10, just to discuss what's happening on Thursday, because I want to make sure that everyone in our membership is prepared for the Thursday meeting. They know what it's about and why they should attend for Amtrak. But before we transition from the goals meeting to that conversation, I thought it might be Is there any other goals that you think RHA should have? Like any other work that you see us not doing or that you would like to contribute to that you would like us doing in 2024? Can be big, it can be really small, doesn't have to be anything super complex that you think we could be doing better as an organization or as neighbors.
Hey everybody, this is Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I cut my camera on. How's everybody? Just wanted to not ask for anything. I wanted to be a part and do more. Me and my wife, we finally moved in on Linden, and I know y'all have block captains. I saw that as a goal for 2023. I want to be a part of that. I want to speak up for this block and do what we can do on our part. So put me down.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Right across from Dorothy Heights. So I know that block is right there. It's around the elementary school. So I definitely want to do my part, me and my wife as well.
Thank you so much, Eric, and congratulations on your move-in. So happy to have you. And I know that we'll follow up with you. You've signed up as a member, I believe, so we should have your email address and everything to
Yes,
follow
I've been
up.
part of most of all the meetings
Yes.
while we was going through construction back and forth, but we're finally here 100% and just ready to be a part to do more boots on the ground and everything as well.
Thank you so much for volunteering. Our first block captain, y'all.
I'm already putting in 311 tickets. I've been talking to all of them behind the scenes about a couple of issues that's starting to get resolved. So
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the team then.
Absolutely.
So we'll definitely follow up with you on that. Anyone else have something that you think we can be doing better, that you would like to contribute to, or that you would like the neighborhood to be working on? I get it. Not everyone wants to unmute and talk on camera, but if you want to share any additional concerns, like Olivia, I know there's been a long battle to increase lighting on Park Avenue. I don't know where we are with that. I know that you attend the PDC meeting, so I'm sure Arlen is abreast of movement on that. But if there are things like that in the neighborhood, oh, Olivia, you unmuted.
Yes, hi, Cassandra. No, has nothing changed since the two years that we've been here. The lights are still out. Most people, well, my husband says about 4 years, and the lights has been still out. Other than that, I think that's our biggest issue, and the community is trying to maintain the park area, but we do have trouble with a lot of abandoned cars. You got one car sitting on a trailer, one with a cover on it, and one that just came, got just been in a bad accident, and they've been parking in the corner. I have not recorded it just yet. The trailer has been there for a little while, so I don't know why I haven't nobody tagged it, but yeah. But other than that, the community we are building as much as we can. Yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, I know. I have always been super hesitant to report things like that to 311 because, there are various reasons why someone might have left their car. Like sometimes it's just a financial issue, like you can't service your car, you can't move it. However, now that we're in the time period where people are getting ticketed, they're probably getting ticketed almost every week for sitting there. So no, Rolando, you're saying no, they don't get ticketed every week. Oh, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, the traffic department is understaffed. So there are times that they're not even in neighborhood. So people are taking advantage of that they don't even move their car, and the days that they have to be, the street have to be swept. So the only alternative is to call 311 and report it. This way, if they get a ticket, they're aware that they may have to move their car.
Okay. Yeah, if you wanted, and I see your hand raised, Arlen, But if you wanted to like leave a note on their car first before reporting it, you know, just to give them that grace of maybe they don't understand, I don't know. They're supposed to move their car after a month. I mean, you know, but when I did end up there was a car that was parked on the street for about 6 months on Utah, and I called it in and they were pretty good about moving it. I think the car just wasn't operable anymore and someone just abandoned it. It wasn't, you know, a car that they were using anymore. And they just, I guess, were like, whatever, I'm just gonna leave it here. And they were pretty quick to move it. So if you want to give them, you know, I waited 6 months just to see if someone would come back for it. If you want to, you know, wait more time just to give that person grace. But if it gets to a point where, you know, other things can happen with an abandoned car being there, like it being broken into, you know, people might steal parts of the car and things like that. It might encourage things like that. If you just want to report it, 311 has been pretty good in the past about picking a car up.
And can I say,
oh, sorry.
One more thing, real quick, and that the apartment buildings on Drew Lake Drive. What is happening with their trash? They don't have trash cans over there. They pile it up right there in that corner. I know everybody knows it or see it. What's happening?
To my knowledge, and Arlen and Rolando, you probably know this information better, but the last time I spoke to the councilman, the city is super aware of the issue. They have, I think, trash piled up not only outside the building, but like inside the building. Like it's a huge issue. If we're thinking about the same apartment, Rolando, go ahead.
I think she's referring to that corner next to Lakeview. That trash that's at the corner of Lakeview and by the bus stop, it's not Lakeview garbage. It's the apartment buildings that's across that been dumping the garbage for years there. The city removed the garbage can that was there, and they still put in the garbage there. It's the fact that they may not have access to the rear of the building. So that's the reason you have that garbage at that corner.
Yeah, and it was, the way I understood it when they explained it to me is that because the person who, or the people that manage the building aren't managing the trash properly for tenants then put the trash on the corner or something like that. Basically, it's like overflowing in the building. And so that's why it ends up on the corner. So I think that's what Councilman Torrance said on our walkthrough. I could be wrong, but he was basically trying to make an intervention into the building to correct the issue, but it requires entry into the building and only the owner of the building can allow you access to the inside of the building. It seemed like a very convoluted, like crazy thing, but even if the tenant themselves report it and say, hey, we need help with trash, the city can't get access to the building unless the owner of the property allows them access. So again, that's a super backwards way legally. That's, to me, very backwards. The city should always be able to support tenants if they're dealing with a situation like that. That sounds to me like, I'm not a lawyer, but like something that needs to change legislatively to you know, that does not seem correct. But if my memory serves me, that was the issue with that particular issue. And Rolando, you're right. It's not from it's from across the street. It's not from the building where it's piling up. So, okay. But continue to report it because, so I just wanted to reiterate this. I know we say this all the time, but 311, what we've learned this past year is the city's record keeping system. So even I got super frustrated because I was reporting a neighbor construction problems, you know, over, and they keep closing it. They close it the next day. And I was like, you all did not come here. I know you didn't come here. But what happens is on our end, when we see this 311 closed, it actually means it's transferring to a different department. It doesn't mean that they've resolved it, but from our end, it looks like they're just ignoring it. But from Councilman Torrance's end and the city's end, they can see all of the complaints. So don't feel defeated if you keep seeing your complaints just close and not being resolved. Know that you have made the record. It's there. You just, I don't know why the 311 system is set up that way. It's not, because it is discouraging, but just know, do it. Go ahead and report it, and report it repeatedly, because that's the only way there's a record. And if you can take pictures, even better. But we must report to 311. And we're also trying to create a system on our website so that when you report to 311, you tell us, because then we can follow up. So if we're seeing like 15 reports of the trash overflow, we can be, hey, Councilman Torrance, have you noticed like there's a trend in our neighborhood that people are reporting, you know, a rat issue or trash issue or whatever issue? We need your attention on that. And because we've built this relationship with the councilman's office, they can expedite issues. So please, I know it's an extra step, but if you go on our website, there is a 311 database. So if you report something to 311, just let us know in that by completing that form, and then we will have a record as well. Okay. So anything else? All right, so I don't want to keep us on much longer because it's pretty late. It's almost 8:30. So I just want to really quickly close out the meeting. I'm going to stop the share to just really quickly talk about what to expect on Thursday. So the meeting occurring on Thursday at 6 p.m. in Bethlehem Synagogue is being technically hosted by Amtrak to share with us first and foremost their new renderings of the ventilation site that's supposed to be on that corner of North Avenue and between Utah and Linden. So it's a really large site. And basically they got feedback from the state, from WNADA, and from multiple different entities that the renderings that they shared with us in September were not acceptable, and that they needed to come back from scratch and create a new way, a new facade so that it would blend more with our community. So they want to share that with us. So they're going to take up about 30 minutes to share that. So if you want to see those renderings, you need to attend that meeting. But the second half of the meeting, which is supposed to be around an hour and a half, is a listening session. So the idea being that the community can share our concerns with Amtrak about the upcoming project, so that they can better understand our needs as a community. Obviously, okay, let me not say obviously, this sounds so negative. To a lot of us, it may sound like that's a huge waste of time. And it's just a kind of a check ticking exercise that will exhaust us, or, you know, basically our information will fall on deaf ears. And we really want to encourage people to attempt to attend if you can, and to bring a neighbor or encourage another neighbor. It's at 6 p.m., Lena, and it's on our calendar. So if you want the information and the exact email and the flyer, you can go on the RHA calendar and you'll see it, but it's at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Because we want to use the meeting instead to really focus each other on the issues that we have found about Amtrak and the project. So we are all on the same page. So we're going to try to use that time as a good time to not only share information, yes, of course, share information with Amtrak if we want to, like the information we want to be made public record, but also so that people who have maybe never attended an Amtrak meeting, maybe don't know where to start, are looking at the 600 pages of documentation, are just like, I don't even want to get into this, like, whatever, it's going to happen anyway. If you're feeling like that and you're feeling kind of overwhelmed by the project, it might be a good time to attend just to get an overview of all the issues, to be there, because Amtrak will be there. So at the meeting, you can ask questions, but I have been told that because RHA has requested it, that it be recorded and that it also be streamed, because we understand that we're in a really high COVID tick right now. Like, a lot of people are acquiring COVID in this moment. A lot of people are getting sick, that we need an online option, right? So we've requested that, and they have basically said, well, if it's online and if it's recorded, we're not answering any questions, because in nothing that we say, we don't want anything that we say to be recorded. which is a huge flag, obviously, for many, many reasons. So because of that, we know that we're basically going to just be speaking to them. They won't be responding to our questions, or we assume that maybe they will, maybe they won't. However, we need to have that recorded. Like, we need to have a memory of that. We also need to have a way to share with our neighbors and each other what the issues that people should be concerned about, and what we are advocating for as a community, so we're all on the same page. So that's how we're really looking at that meeting. So if you have a neighbor, if you're on the alignment, certainly come, right? If you're concerned about the ventilation site, certainly come, right? Because they'll be talking about that. But third of all, if you don't know a lot about it, if you have a neighbor that's blasé about it and they're on the alignment, it's a good time to come. Yes, Arlen.
Am I to understand there's also a meeting that Wanada's hosting with Amtrak?
I don't know why they keep doing this to us. Back-to-back meetings, like they. So yes, at 4 p.m. on that same day, I put it for 4 to 6. I don't actually know how long the meeting is, but I put it on the calendar from 4 to 6. But it definitely starts at 4. Wanada will also be discussing the ventilation site. So if you're only concerned about the ventilation site and you want Wanada to hear your concerns, because just a little bit of background, Wanada is based off of legislation that was passed at the state level. So they are in direct contact with the state. So advocating with Wanada is useful in the way that they do communicate with our state senators and at times with the governor. So advocating and sharing our concerns about the project with Wanada is a useful tool. So if you also, unfortunately, I know I'll have to be there, but I know it's a huge ask to do 4 hours of meetings on a Thursday. But if you want to attend that, you certainly should. Brandy, yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I heard about this meeting today from the Wanada transportation planner, with whom I was having a meeting for my professional work. And I think what's really interesting and exciting and potentially positive about the Wanada involvement is the planner told me that Wanada is planning to announce an RFQ probably in the upcoming weeks, and they'll talk about this at the meeting on Thursday, through which they want to hire a third-party engineer to review the Amtrak plans so that that person can help neighbors and community members better understand the impact of the tunnel, and also to vet and assess the, I guess, the ventilation plan and the public health impacts, and help us better understand the impacts on us as a community, but also on how to mitigate public health impacts. So I think the Wanada meeting is of value, and I think it's a terrible timing. I suspect this is why we couldn't get the Amtrak meeting at Dorothy Height. I think the Wanada meeting has been on the books for a while. I don't know why they did not do a better job of promoting it, but I do think there's some real value in attending that meeting. So yes, that's it.
Thank you, Brandy. Yeah. And to add to that, I just want to shout out Carson, who's been doing a lot of advocacy for Wanada, and as part of why they have agreed to support financially those specialists in doing that work, is because of Carson's advocacy. So hopefully we'll be working with RHA because they've been thinking a lot for a long time about hiring a third party to review a lot of the paperwork, but it requires a lot of funding to do so. So we have found a way that this agency and our interests are meeting, basically. So they have a shared interest in wanting to know that information because they're trying to encourage development along the North Avenue corridor. And we obviously have interest in having that information as residents. And so Carson has been incredible in advocating for finding ways that Wanada could support the community in finding out more information about the BP tunnel project and how we can better understand the documentation. So it just goes to show you, like, continued advocacy in the neighborhood makes huge impacts. Like, you know, wherever you are, wherever you have access, advocating where you are, you know, really, really makes a difference. So thank you, Brandy, for shedding light on this particular meeting and what they're planning to announce on that meeting. I thought it was much more focused on the ventilation side, but it sounds like it's a little bit more expansive. So that's really exciting. Okay. So any questions about the Thursday meetings? So yeah, if you can attend both, which I totally understand, I would encourage you to try to attend at least one of them, you know, as your schedule allows. And I will hopefully hear a little bit more information about the online component for Thursday. I think that Janae has been trying to advocate with the synagogue to do a run through, because when we did the bike lane hybrid meeting, there were some technical things that we had to work out. So we definitely want to work them out in advance and ensure that people can be heard and that we can hear them, et cetera. Because I think there was some frustration during the bike meeting. We sorted it out, but we just want to get ahead of that. But we just need a contact, because Amtrak has been doing the scheduling, but we haven't had direct contact with the synagogue. So trying to get that. Yes, Arlen.
Both of those meetings will be online or hybrid? Or do you
No.
know? No.
To my knowledge, both of those meetings are in person only at this point. And we're trying to get them to be hybrid instead, because I don't think it's ethical, honestly, to ask everyone to crowd in that space right now, especially when you're looking at the public health reporting right now about where we are as a community. I mean, I've heard as high as they're projecting like 1 in 3 people will contract COVID during this month. So it's kind of a moment that you really you definitely don't want to be crowded in a room. And if we have to be in a room together, we definitely want to be masking. But obviously there are people that risk is too high and won't show up because they just simply can't, you know, risk that. And so we're really trying to fight to make sure that people have the opportunity to join online. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm going to miss both of those because I won't be in town, but
okay.
I was hoping to join in, but
yeah,
okay.
If we get it online, we'll put that information on our website immediately and, you know, share it with everyone as soon as we know. Yes, Rolando?
Do we know what room we're using at the school?
At the school, I actually don't know. I don't know what room it's supposed to be in. I don't think it said on the information, just said Dorothy Height. I could be wrong though.
The safest space to use at the school would be the auditorium.
Yeah, it would be. It's a lot more space.
So
yeah.
I think we may have to make it clear to Amtrak from now on that we need to use the school.
Yes.
Excuse me for being, how should I put it? Don't believe in that Amtrak did not know that UNADA was having this meeting at the school. I wouldn't be surprised that they was aware and decided to, instead of moving it, just create this conflict, you know, when they go.
Absolutely. So, I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
We need to make it clear that they need to have a meeting at the school because it affects the school community and some of the individuals that attend, kids that attend that school does not necessarily live in this neighborhood and may not even know where certain things in this neighborhood exist. So that's a central area in our community and will be for those individuals that do not live in our community to attend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rolando. I agree. And we tried really hard to get it moved to the school. But strategically, Amtrak, you know, selected the date in a way that, and in a time frame that it was very difficult to communicate with the school because of Christmas break. So we were notified of the space, you know, in a time frame that was really hard. But that ultimately, to your point, Rolando, is an issue that should be directed back at Amtrak and really doesn't have to do with us. Rolando, yeah.
Yes, they're flying. How are they reaching out to the community? Because basically, I don't think they are doing door-to-door flying or mailing in that respect. I think they are actually just doing to the individuals that it affects.
That's right. I think the last I heard was that they were only sending postcards to neighbors on the alignment, which makes no sense because yes, it definitely very much affects people on the alignment. Like, I'm not trying to reduce the urgency of those folks being notified, but obviously if there's an event site in our neighborhood, it affects everybody in the neighborhood, not just people that are living right on top of the tracks. And as we, you know, have said multiple times, people that are on alignment are connected to an entire row of homes. Like, we're literally connected to each other. So even if you're not on the alignment, it's going to affect you. Let me put it this way. We have to fight for every single thing from Amtrak. We have to fight. Even this meeting, as lousy as I honestly think it is, it was a fight to get it. It was a fight to even have this meeting in our neighborhood, even though it was just a Reservoir Hill meeting, they were holding it in Bolton Hill. So everything with Amtrak, every single thing is a fight. And so that makes it super clear to me that we have to be super tight as a community because they're not going to give us anything unless we fight for it. And it's unfortunate, but it is the case. And as far as, you know, I asked them how they were communicating with the community, who they reached out to, even to schedule the meeting, because they said, oh, we couldn't find space in the community. That's the first thing they said. And I was like, please tell me everyone you reached out to in every group you've tried to schedule with. And then they responded, oh, we got the synagogue. So, you know, it's just as petty as that. You know what I'm saying? That's such a small thing. They didn't have to make us have to do that extra step of saying, hey, if it's for the community, have it in the community. Like, that's absurd. But that, you know, that just is an example of the
I think,
labor.
though, they're given, we need to document all these issues that we have with them. Everything has to be documented. Because if you're having a community meeting and you only reaching out to certain amount of individuals, then it's not a community meeting.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when they're born, they start this born, it's not only affect the individual that the tunnel is going to need, it want to affect the entire neighborhood. And basically what happened to our neighborhood is we won't be surrounded by construction that went for a long period of time. We have Duke Parkway Drive, we have the BP Tunnel, and
North Avenue.
Park
North, 2001 Park.
So we want dated with all this construction, and on top of that, Amtrak have so-called want to block off some of the alleyway. So
the
way they're communicating is absolutely,
it's atrocious,
ridiculous, and it have to be noted. So they cannot go and says that, oh, they reach out to the community when they only reach out to selective individual in the community. And this was planned from the beginning because their intention when we first went to the meeting in that's Emerson Avenue and the west side, their intention was to start the project, and as they get along at a certain distance, they will have community meeting then. So they really don't want to have meeting in Reservoir because
we made that very clear.
Vocal. So we have to document it, and we got to get our politician involved. And if they don't want to get involved, we have to let it know that they're not getting involved.
So the good thing I can say is we have been documenting it. So that's one thing I feel very confident that we have been documenting, and we have reached out to every single representative, everyone. You know, we've had that one-on-one meeting with Kwesi Mfume's office, for example. Like, we've invited people to the table. As far as actually having our representatives respond to that issue, in particular in the way that we have, that we want, is an ongoing effort, and it requires the entire community's advocacy for that to happen. And that has been made abundantly clear. We are not going to get traction on this issue from our representatives. And I'll say, and I quote from, you know, multiple, until we have signs in every yard.
Are you referring to Mr. Van Halen?
Yes, their office. And obviously, you know,
So
that's
what?
the way politicians view these kind of issues. If there's not a lot of noise being made, they view it as us being okay with it and that we're happy with it. So, you know, we've written a lot of letters as RHA and have made it clear what the community representatives and the community leadership thinks about the issue. But I think what we want to see in 2024 is way more public, community-wide, clear messaging that we are not happy with the situation, because right now it's not very clear.
Can I get a little clarity? You said sign. Are you referring to we have to get some, I don't know what they call those signs. Those signs that they stick in the ground. So
Yes.
we have to find out how many houses that we have in the community, and then stick it or staple it or drill it onto the building.
Literally. Similar to what you've seen other, you know, neighborhoods do, like.
So then we have to tell Mr. Van Halen that he got to create some funds so we can do that.
Okay.
Where do you want to get that type of fund?
We fundraise for it as a community.
All right.
Unfortunately, that's what we're gonna have to do. And fortunately for us, we're in a really good position because our neighbors have committed to that. So, you know, I don't want to prolong the conversation too long, but I know that multiple people have wanted to create a fund for this type of work and have said that they will contribute financially to this type of work. Our neighbors are willing to do that. So it's about us organizing it and making sure that we will, you know, have each other's backs and we understand why we're doing it. Because I think a lot of people are like, it's going to happen anyway. What's the point? Right. And I think what I try to tell people over and over again is that literally Amtrak will do nothing for you. Whatever you have in your mind that you want Amtrak to do. Let's say the simplest thing. We're going to begin construction on January 24th, like giving you a date as to when they're going to demolish a building. They will not do it. They won't do it until we fight for it. Literally, they will do nothing. They have told us over and over again, we don't have to do anything for you. We will do what we want. We owe you nothing, and it's going to happen anyway. That's their messaging. So as a community, we have to come together to make it clear that that's not acceptable. And the way we do that mostly is by advocacy with our representatives, because we elect them and make it clear that we'll make a lot of fuss and noise so that they, you know, they can't comfortably shift back into re-election by doing nothing for us, is basically what we've learned. On top of that, there's legal things that are being pursued, but, you know, that on the ground advocacy, nothing can beat that. So that's really what this is about. So, you know, back to the meeting on Thursday, that's why this meeting is important, because it's a great way to reach neighbors that might not be on this call, you know, that might not otherwise interface with an organization, that might not even care. But this is our moment to kind of share, hey, do you want to know what date the laundromat's going to be demolished? So do we. That might be something, you know, that might be some low hanging fruit that, okay, yeah, I can get behind wanting that, right? So those are my, you know, small things that we want to advocate for in that meeting, to be clear with what we want, so people can see like what we're asking for isn't the moon and stars and skies. It's a things that you would think, oh yeah, that's obviously something they're going to do, but actually it's not super obvious, they have made it clear that, you know, they're not going to share anything with us if they don't have to. So I hope to see you on Thursday, or at least hear from you in an email if there are things that you think that should be brought up in that meeting. If I don't see you on Thursday, I hope I see you in one of the committee meetings coming up. But, you know, that dialogue and that exchange, you know, is what we're doing as an organization, and trying to work together to make some change, because it is extremely frustrating. And you would think it would not be complicated, right? Like the things that Rolando has brought up, they're common sense, right? Our representatives should be there. They should be advocating for us. They should be fighting for us on these small, tiny things, you know, like dates and proper meetings at proper times, but they're not. They're simply not. And so this is, I guess, where we put on our big boy and girl pants and we learn how to fight to make the community and our representatives respond in the way that we want them to. So that's it. Unless there are other announcements or anything that people want to share. Thank you, Darnell. I agree. The independent third-party consultants are super important, because they do share a lot of consultants between Amtrak and WNATA. And so it's really helpful to be able to get access to third-party consultants. So thank you for that. I don't think we have anyone on the call that gives general announcements. Thank you all for staying on the call. Okay. And the meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.